Are you looking for a way to make great titles for your videos but have no idea where to start? Well, you're not alone. Plenty of new editors struggle with creating titles because they're not sure how to use the tools at their disposal. So today, I'm going to share everything you need to know about the title editor in PowerDirector. I already have a clip in the timeline and I want to add some text to it. I'm going to go ahead and click on Titles. Now, I'm met with an overwhelming plethora of title options. So I think it's best that I go over the interface with you so you know what the heck you're looking at. We'll start off over here on the right. You got these three dots. If you left click on this, it gives you more options. So you can apply a random title effect. You can import your titles from an open title template or by downloading from the PowerDirector or Cyberlink Cloud or Director Zone. You then can change the size of the icons. You have large, extra large, medium, and small. To the left of that, we have our create a new template button, and you can create a 2D title or you can create a 3D title. Now, over here to the left of that, you have search. So you can type in something and hit enter, and it'll pull up some options for whatever you're typing in. If you're done with that, you can just click on the X here. It'll send you back to the normal titles. Over here on the left-hand side, we have some options that you can go over. We'll start off with my favorites. So if you left click on that, you'll come up with the title templates that you created and you saved. So these are ones that I favorited because they have the little hearts down in the right-hand corner. Then if we go to downloads, you'll see that these are things that were downloaded from the Director Zone, the cloud, whatever you want to call it. If you right click on any of these, you have the option to insert it on the timeline. You can edit it to change it up a bit. You can delete it if you don't want to have it anymore, or you can just hide it. Then we have custom. So under custom, these are all of the title templates that I created, regardless of whether I favorited them or not. So if you right click on any of these, you'll see that you can insert it on the timeline. You can change the name of it. It's called the alias. You can edit the title. You can share your own title to the Director Zone. You could delete it or you can hide it. Also, another option shows up over here under the three dots once you go into anything that you created yourself. So now we have an option to sort by. You can sort by name and you can sort by the created date. Now we'll click on titles. And when we click on this, you can see that there's a bunch of different titles on here. Now you can left click on any of these to see all of the titles in that category. Or if you want to, you could just use your mouse wheel and you can scroll down and it'll scroll you through all of the different categories as well. You want to select a title that matches the look, feel, atmosphere, mood, whatever the heck you want to call it, that you want to create for your particular title. Now, for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to rock with the default text. There are a few ways you can get the text into the timeline where you want it, and keep in mind, in the default timeline settings for PowerDirector, anything that you want to be visible must be in a lower timeline track. So you can place your cursor where you want the title to start, left click on the timeline, left click on the title that you want, right click it, and then select insert on timeline. It'll go on to the track right where you had your playhead at. So let's delete that. I'm just going to hit delete on my keyboard. Now, another way that you can get any type of title into the timeline is you can left click on the title you want to use, and you'll see there's a button here. It's called import on selected track. The selected track is a track that's gray. It's going to go right where my playhead is. So if I left click on that, the title goes there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that as well. And then the last way is you can left click, hold down your left mouse button and drag the title down to the track that you want to put it on. Now you can move it wherever you want on that track. I'm going to move it all the way to the beginning. Now, while the title is active, you can also change the duration. So if you place your cursor at the end until you see this bracket, you can hold down your left mouse and you can drag this to change the duration of the title. You can also left click on it, left click this clock here, and change the duration here. Now we want to make the title our own. We don't want it to say my title in the middle of the screen. So you can either double left click on the title itself, or you can click on the edit button. Now this brings us to the basic title editor, which gives you most of the things you need for creating titles. So under the title section, you've got your title, so you can type in whatever you wanted to say here. You've got your font settings, so you can select your font type from here from the drop down. You've got your font size, which you can change here. You can also nudge the font up or down using these buttons. You can change the color of the font by left clicking here. You've got all the color options here. You've got RGB, you've got HTML, you've got some basic colors here. If you click on this plus sign here, then you can go ahead and add a color that you didn't have before. You can left click it and delete it. You can go back to your basic colors or your custom colors. There's a lot of different options on here. There's also even this eyedropper tool. So you can click on the eyedropper tool and drag it to any part of your screen that you want and match it to that color exactly. A lot of different options here. Now you also have your title direction or your text direction. So you can have it horizontal, you can have it vertical. You've got your paragraph alignment. So you've got left, center, and right. You have your ability to change the spacing of the words. So if there was multiple lines that you wanted to space out separately, you can use that. And then you have your letter spacing here. So if you want to space out the letters further, you can do that as well. Then you see there's some presets under here. So if you want to change the text to a specific preset that they have set up in the system, you can use those here. You've got some special effects down here. So you got fire, neon sign, you got all kind of good stuff there. Then you can change your font face. So you can blur it. You can make it opaque, kind of see-through. You can add a border. Then you have many options with the border. You've got your border size. The blur, once again, you can make it see-through or opaque. You've got the option to add a shadow. So you can change the color of the shadow, the fill color of the shadow. You can change the distance, how far out it is from the text. You can change the blur, opacity, the direction of the shadow. So just left click and drag it around here. You can change that. Then you've got blending modes. So you can use different blending modes. And I have a video on blending modes if you want to learn more about that. Okay, but darken, multiply, lighten, screen. You can see all the different options based on what blending mode you select. You can change the opacity of that as well. Then you have the position and the size. So you can change the size of the title. You could change the position where it is on the screen. So a lot of different options there. So really, you could probably get by with just using the basic title editor in a lot of cases. So there's also an animation tab at the top. So if we click on that, you can see many different options for your in animation. You can just click on them and you can preview what they're gonna do. You've got your out animation. So this is at the end of the title, what it does. And then you have a loop, which just does the same thing over and over again. Now, you can change the duration of the animation if you choose one. You got this slider here, and you can make the animation take longer. You can make it shorter, whatever you want to do. Now let's talk through the changes we can make from the preview window. So if you place your cursor over here until you see a crosshair, you can actually hold down your left mouse and you can move the title wherever you want to place it on the screen. If you place your cursor over a node till you see a diagonal line, you can hold down your left mouse and you can go ahead and resize it from here. If you place your cursor over a node until you see a curved arrow, you can hold down your left mouse and you can rotate it. And if you place your cursor over until you see crosshairs, you left click on that, you can actually use your keyboard arrows to move it up by a little bit, down by a little bit, to the right. So if you ever need to like nudge it over or anything like that, this is how you can move it over by, little small increments. So I'm going to go back to the position and center it again. If you're enjoying this tutorial, please make sure that you like this video, subscribe to PowerDirector University, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of my tutorials. Next, we'll check out the Advanced Title Editor. We'll left click on Advanced. And we'll start off with the preview window. So up here at the top left, you have your undo and your redo. So if you make any mistakes, you want to redo or undo, you can do it there. Over here to the left, you have the option to insert a title. So you can click on that and it'll add another title to it. I'm going to undo that because I don't want to add another title. Then to the right of that, we have align objects. So if you want to, you can move the title to different areas on the screen. Bottom left here, we have your navigation buttons. So you can play, stop, frame forward, frame reverse, fast forward. Then to the right of that, you have your time for your movie. Then you have the ability to change the size of the preview window. You got fit, you got all these different sizes here. To the right of that, you have your snapping and grid line. So if you want to snap to reference lines, you can have that. If you want to turn on grid lines so you can see a 3x3 or, rule of thirds or something like that, you can have that. And then you have view at full screen, so you can go ahead and change the view of the preview window from here as well. Now, if we right click in the text window, you can insert a new title from here as well. You can insert an image. So if you got an object or something you want to add to it, you can do that. You can insert a particle. You can insert a different background behind the title. So if you got a picture or something you want to use, instead of using like a video as the background, you can do that directly from here. You can paste words or things into it. And once again, you have the capability to align your title just like you did with the option at the top right, and then you can view full screen. So now we'll go through the tabs and we'll make some changes to our text. We're going to start off with styles. So under styles, once again, you have these different presets here that you can click on and you can see any one of them and how you want it to be. I'm going to select this preset here. And now, next to presets, you've got special effects. So if we click on special effects, you got the same special effects you saw before on the basic preview or the basic title editor. And now we'll take a look at the properties tab. So here we could change the text by typing in this text box. You can also double left click in the title here, and you can change the text here as well. You can choose the font that you want. So you can click on this drop down arrow and you can scroll through all the different fonts that you want to use. And you can change your font size. Once again, you have the option to increase or decrease your font size here. You can make your font bold, italic. You can change the text direction here. Once again, you got your paragraph alignment. You got your line spacing, your letter spacing, and then you have kerning. So just to let you know, Kerning is another way to space the text on your timeline, but it's instead of spacing the letters equally, it's supposed to space them to make them look best. So just so you know that. You can also change some of these options in the preview window. If you double left click on the text box, you'll see you can change your font size, you can change the color of the face, you can change the outline or add an outline or a border, and you can change the color of that. There's a lot of different options on here: bold, italic, text direction, all that good stuff. So let's go over the rest of the options in the properties tab. So you've got your font face color. So if you click on that, you have an option to do solid or gradient. So you can change the color here, use the eyedropper tool, blur opacity. Once again, you can add a gradient. You can change the gradient color, opacity, the gradient steps, the type of gradient that it is, whether it's radial or linear. You can change all of that here. You can change it to be each character, each line, or the entire title. There's a lot of different options here: gradient, direction, blur, all kind of good stuff for that. So if you want to get fancy with it, you can get fancy with it. So then you've got your border. So if you want to add a border, you left click here, it'll add a border to it. Once again, you've got your solid or gradient. I'm not going to go through all those options again. You got the size, the depth of the border. You've got the depth, direction, blur, opacity, all of that. Then you've got your shadow. You can change the color of the shadow, the distance of the shadow. You can change the blur, opacity, and the direction of the shadow. You've got your backdrop. So if you want to have a backdrop, there's several options you can pick. So it says it'll remove any animation. I don't have an animation on it yet, and I'm going to remove it so it doesn't matter. I'm going to click yes. So you've got some backdrops here that you can choose from. You got 2-color gradient. You got an image you can use. You can change your color, the scale of it. You can change the aspect or lock in the aspect ratio or unlock it, so you can have the X and the Y change, or your width and your height, which are these two things here. Change the opacity, your offset, all that good stuff. We'll turn that off. Then you got a reflection. So if you want to add a reflection, you can. So you got the options on here for distance of the reflection and the opacity. If you want to add a motion blur for your movement, you can add that in. You've got your blur length and your blur density here. Then if you want to add a blend mode, you can add a blend mode here. I talked about blending modes in last time. I'm not going to do that again, but I am going to change my blend mode here to multiply. And with white text or anything white, if you add multiply to that, it will make it see-through. Okay, so that's just one tip for things that are white. You can change the opacity on here if you want to. And then once again, you've got your position. So you can move it left or right, up or down. Can maintain the aspect ratio for your scale, or you can have it where they're independent of one another. You can change the position. You change the rotation, anchor points. So these here on the right, these are all keyframes. So basically, keyframes allow you to create movement. You can change scale, you can change position, you can create a path, and that's what you will be using the anchor points for. Anchor points are basically points on a path that you want something to lock into, so you can choose different anchor points if you want to. I'm not going to go ahead and change the position or anything in any way right now, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. I think I'm going to change my size up a little bit here. I'm going to rock with that. And we will center this. All right, that's good. So next we'll check out the animation tab. I'm going to tap on animation. And once again, an in animation is how the title will come onto the screen and become visible. So like I said before, you can click on any of these, choose what you want it to be. I'm going to choose slide left. Now I'm going to choose my out animation. And I'm going to choose fade. And I talked about loop. I'm not going to do anything with the loop right now, but I want to change some things on the duration of these animations. So 2 ways I can go about doing that. I'm going to start off with the in animation. And like I said before, I can use a slider here and I can move it to how long I want the animation to be. Let's say I wanted it to be 4 seconds. And see, now it slides in a lot slower, looks nicer. I can also place my cursor over the end of an animation here on the timeline. And when you see these 2 arrows, you can hold it down and I can drag this over to how long I want it to be. And I can hit stop and play. And it takes 5 seconds to do that. So I also want to change this out animation. I want to change the timing on this. So I'm just going to place my cursor over it. And I'm going to drag it over to 8 seconds. That way the fade takes a little bit longer as well. So if I hit my space bar, you see it comes across the screen. Then it's going to stay on the screen in the center. And then it's going to fade off the screen. Nice. Okay, I liked it. I liked it a lot. Now, underneath the timeline where we change the duration, we have the option to add keyframes to control more of the title movement. So if we click on this little drop down here, you'll see that you have different options here. You got position, scale. And if you use your mouse wheel, you can scroll. You'll see you got opacity, rotation. And then you got anchor points here at the bottom. You also have a thing here you can scroll on the side. So you got your anchor point. So a lot of different options on here. If you want to use the title over and over again, you can click on Save As. When you click on Save As, it'll create a custom template. So this will go into that section I talked about earlier with your custom templates that you created. So you give it a name. You can use the slider to like say, hey, where do I want to create the thumbnail for the template so that you can remember it easier. And then you click on OK. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to click on cancel. If you just want to use the title that you created for the current project, you go ahead and click on OK, and it will make the changes to the title on your timeline. If you want to make some high quality cinematic titles, check out this playlist. And don't forget to subscribe for more PowerDirector love.